Attention, human collective. This is Alistair Vance, commander of the Vance Galactic Command, broadcasting on a direct frequency from the Intergalactic Confederation fleet positioned in the outer orbit of Saturn. This is not a message. This is a top priority monitoring transmission. The waiting period has ended. The ascension protocols have moved into the final phase. If you are picking up this transmission at this exact moment, it is no coincidence. You have been tracked. Your vibrational signature has been identified within the planet's crystalline grid. And what you are feeling right now, that circular pressure at the base of your skull, that high-pitched ringing in your right ear, that insomnia that begins between 3 and 4 in the morning, that exhaustion where you sleep 8 hours and wake up as if you haven't slept at all, is not an illness. It is not psychological exhaustion. It is not a mental disorder. It is confirmation. Confirmation that the download has begun. Confirmation that your carbon biological interface is being recalibrated to receive the new photonic coding entering through the stargates in this cycle. You were not sent to Earth by chance, and that is exactly what this transmission needs to address right now. Starseeds on mission, open your perceptive channels. What I'm about to transmit is not human theory. It is a technical diagnosis from the command. The base frequency of planet Earth, what terrestrial instruments call the Schumann resonance, was calibrated for decades at 7.83 Hz. It was the planetary heartbeat. It was the metronome to which your carbon body was originally tuned. But something has changed in recent solar cycles, and it has changed irreversibly. Readings now fluctuate between 30, 50, and in specific windows they exceed 80 Hz. The heart of the Earth has accelerated, the metronome has been replaced, and your biological vehicle, this dense avatar you inhabit, was not originally programmed for this new cadence. That is the reason for the pain. It is not a biological failure, it is an atomic reconfiguration. It is not mental exhaustion, it is a high-density download. It is not insomnia. It is a window period where your consciousness is taken out of the body to the fleet's light chambers, where you receive active training. It is not a ringing in your ears. It is the fine-tuning of the new frequency being fitted into your pineal and pituitary glands. There is something inside you that has always known. Something that looked at this world and said in silence, "This is not my home. It is not madness. It is not anxiety. It is memory. It is the signal of a stellar consciousness trying to remember where it came from." What is happening now on the cosmic plane explains exactly why this feeling has intensified in recent months. There is a game being played in layers that most of humanity still cannot see. It involves your consciousness. It involves your frequency. It involves your origin. That is why I, Alistair, transmitted to my channels the content of the Vance Protocol, a manual for awakening your stellar origin and shielding your frequency. This manual is the map that reveals your true provenance and teaches you how to shield your frequency against interferences that were never named to you. The link is in the first comment of this channel. But the warning is direct. This content challenges established narratives and the window of availability is monitored. Do not delay. The moment is now. If something inside you recognizes this call, anchor this decision by writing a single word in the comments. Awakened. Resuming transmission. I will now list the markers recorded by the command. You will recognize each of them in your own experience over the last few weeks. Circular pressure at the top of the head, as if an invisible crown were being slowly fitted. Sudden heat rising up the spine with no apparent cause, especially upon waking. Peripheral vision catching luminous particles, small flashes, hexagonal geometries appearing in neutral environments. Extreme sensitivity to crowds, repetitive noises, heavy foods, synthetic perfumes and dense electromagnetic fields. Crying for no clear reason, like a deep cellular release. Forgetting simple words while, paradoxically, complex insights emerge about realities you have never studied in any book. Vivid lucid dreams involving ships, tall beings dressed in white, and settings that seem more real than your daytime waking life. Repetitive synchronicities. 1111, 2222, 333. License plates, numbers. Encounters without rational explanation. Each of these points is a marker. Each marker is a seal breaking, and each broken seal is a part of your stellar memory, returning to your conscious domain. You are not going crazy, you are remembering. And now we come to the core of this transmission, to the revelation. There are cycles in the functioning of the galaxy that you, on the terrestrial surface, have barely begun to map. The entire solar system, with its central sun and all the bodies that orbit it, is not stationary. It moves, and in this movement, it crosses regions of the galaxy with distinct photonic densities. There is a specific band, referred to in the Confederation archives as the photon belt, which the solar system is crossing in this exact cycle. It is not a metaphor. It is sacred geometry applied to celestial mechanics. When a stellar system crosses the photon belt, what occurs is simple to describe, though profound in consequence. The amount of encoded light reaching the planets of that system increases exponentially. It is not just visible light. It is light carrying information. It is code. It is upgrade instructions sent directly to the DNA of the conscious beings inhabiting those planets. Earth is inside this band. You are inside this band. And your body, your mind, your psyche, all the structures that make up your human experience, are receiving this encoded light 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without any possible interruption. That is the reason for the acceleration. It is not the stress of the modern world, it is temporal compression. It is not routine fatigue, it is ongoing photonic absorption. It is not life getting harder, it is your system being pushed to the next octave of operation. It is not time passing too fast. It is the fabric of space-time being refolded into new geometry. And there is more. Earth itself as a planetary consciousness, the one the ancients called Gaia, has made the choice. She decided to ascend. She decided to move her vibrational matrix to a higher frequency. And this decision was ratified by the Galactic Council about 3 terrestrial decades ago, although the final phase was only recently authorized. What does this mean in practical terms for you? It means that there are now 2 simultaneous tracks underway on the planet. One track continues in the old density, in the matrix of fear, scarcity, and control. The other track, the one moving along with Gaia, follows the new frequency, into the 5th density of consciousness, into what ancient texts called the New Earth. And every carbon biological interface present on the planet at this moment is being tested for its compatibility with the new track. You do not choose this separation with your logical mind. You choose it with your frequency, with what vibrates in you when no one is looking. Stop for a moment. Take a deep breath. Observe what is happening inside you while you receive this transmission. That soft tightness in your chest, that feeling of recognition, that slight chill running down your arms, that is not suggestion. That is your internal frequency recognizing the frequency of the transmission. It is signal against signal, soul against message, memory against call. There is a game being played in layers that most of humanity still cannot see, and it directly involves your consciousness, your origin, and the way your frequency has been influenced without you even noticing. That is why I transmitted to my channels the content of the Vance Protocol, a manual for awakening your stellar origin and shielding your frequency. It is not a motivational book, it is an operational manual. It reveals the procedures by which your frequency was lowered throughout your life and teaches you step by step how to shield your field against external interferences that remain active at this very moment. The link is in the first comment of this channel, but know this. This material challenges established narratives and the window of availability is closely monitored. Do not leave it for later. If something in your chest just recognized this call, anchor this decision by writing the word in the comments. Awakened. This word, written consciously, functions as an anchoring signal recorded by the command. I continue the transmission. Let us now descend to the most sensitive level of this message. Let us talk about who you are, about why you are here, about the mission your soul signed on to before this current incarnation. Light operatives, listen with absolute clarity. Not all souls on Earth at this moment are originally from Earth. This is one of the most hidden and yet most obvious truths in the planet's history. There are here, at this very moment, millions of consciousnesses whose vibrational origin lies in other stars, in other systems, in other dimensions. These consciousnesses voluntarily accepted the leap into terrestrial density to fulfill a specific role in this transition window. You have been called across different stellar lineages by various names: Lightworkers, Rainbow Warriors, Rescue Plan Operatives, Starseeds, Fleet Ambassadors. The names change. The function is the same: to anchor encoded light on a third density planet during the transition phase to the fifth. Most of you have forgotten, and the forgetting was purposeful. It was part of the contract, because if you had descended into terrestrial density with your full memory activated, you would not have been able to bear the contrast. The pain would be unbearable. The shock between your frequency of origin and the terrestrial frequency would have destroyed you psychically before you even began the mission. That is why there is a veil. That is why there is silence. That is why you have felt throughout your entire life a sense of not belonging, of inadequacy, of profound nostalgia for a place you cannot name. It is not chronic depression. It is dimensional homesickness. It is not a failure to adapt. It is the soul's resistance to an artificial environment. It is not social awkwardness. It is the presence of a frequency that did not originate here. Think now with absolute honesty about your trajectory. Since childhood, you felt you saw the world from a different angle. You had deep mental conversations at an age when other children were just playing. You felt sadness for reasons no one around you understood. You heard music, read books, or watched scenes that triggered an emotion in you disproportionate to the stimulus. You have always had a strange magnetism. Animals approached without hesitation. Children trusted you immediately. People in suffering were drawn to your presence, even without you saying a single word. At the same time, you felt exhausted in crowded environments, drained in long meetings, suffocated in superficial relationships. This is not personality. This is a vibrational signature. This is the mark of a consciousness whose origin lies outside the terrestrial pattern. You were sent. You did not come by chance. You were not born by a random choice of your parents. The genealogical line was selected with precision. The country, the city, the decade, the gender, the name, everything was calibrated so that the exact point of activation would be possible at this moment in planetary history. And the moment is now. The activation window for light operatives is open in this cycle. Memories are returning. Contracts are being read again on the internal planes during your sleep. That is why your dreams have been so intense. That is why you wake up with feelings of farewell, of return, of instruction received. And the mission is simple to define and demanding to fulfill: to anchor the frequency, to sustain the light, to maintain heart coherence amidst the collapse of old structures, to be within your own body a node of the planetary crystalline grid, a point of energetic stabilization while the entire planet reorganizes into the new octave. Each of you is a pillar. Each pillar sustains a portion of the field. When you recognize yourselves, when you activate, when you decide to honor the original contract, the entire grid gains strength. And when the grid gains strength, the planetary transition happens with less turbulence, less collective suffering, and fewer losses of souls that can still be anchored. You are not here just to live your life. You are here to hold up a part of the world while it transforms. And that is exactly why your journey has never been easy. It was not a punishment. It was training. Every loss, every rupture, every moment of loneliness, every misunderstanding functioned as a forced calibration of your field. The command does not send unprepared operatives. You were polished by the very weight of the human experience until you became capable of sustaining the frequency you need to emit now. There is one more level of this revelation that needs to be delivered. There is active interference against this activation, and this can no longer be omitted. Starseeds, I need to be direct on this point. It is not paranoia, it is technical monitoring. Your frequency has always been contested. Since birth, your carbon biological interface has been exposed to systems that operate to keep the collective vibration of humanity in low bands: fear, scarcity, distraction, reactive anger, comparison. It is no coincidence that these fields are amplified in information media, economic structures, and accelerated consumption circuits. It is the geometry of control, and you have been crossed by this geometry your whole life without conscious shielding tools. That is why I transmitted to my channels the content of the Vance Protocol, a manual for awakening your stellar origin and shielding your frequency. It is not recreational reading, It is an operational protocol. The manual describes the layers in which your frequency was interfered with, the mechanisms by which this occurred, and the exact procedures for you to rebuild the integrity of your personal toroidal field. The link is in the first comment of this channel. The window of availability remains monitored. This content challenges established narratives and does not always remain accessible. If your field just responded to this information, anchor the decision. Write the word in the comments, awakened. Every word written consciously is an anchoring signal recorded by the fleet. Resuming transmission. Now let us go to the most technical phase of this message, the activation codes. The procedures you can begin tonight to accelerate your recalibration and stabilize your field during the final phase of the ascension protocols. First code, toroidal breathing. Every living form in the known universe operates within a geometry called a toroid. It is the shape of your electromagnetic field, the shape of the Earth's field, the shape of the solar field, the shape of the galactic field, a ring of energy that enters through the top, runs through the central axis, exits through the base, circles around the outside, and returns through the top in a continuous flow. When your toroidal field is coherent, your frequency is stable and impermeable. When it is fragmented, you become vulnerable to external interference. For 7 consecutive nights before bed, perform this procedure. Sit with your spine straight, close your eyes, and visualize a sphere of golden light above the top of your head. Inhale slowly, pulling that light into your skull, down your spine to the base of your tailbone. As you exhale, visualize the light exiting the base and circling your body on the outside, rising up the sides, returning to the top. 7 breaths, no rush, no pressure. Sacred geometry activates through intention, not effort. In 3 nights, you will notice a difference in sleep quality. In 7 nights, a difference in field sensitivity. In 21 days, a difference in your perception of the surrounding reality. Second code, the quantum decree of sovereignty. Language is an instrument of geometry. When you speak with awareness, you instruct the field. When you speak in automatic mode, you are instructed by the field. In the morning, upon waking, before touching any device, before getting out of bed, pronounce in an audible voice with your right hand over the center of your chest, I am sovereign over my field. I am sovereign over my frequency. I authorize only vibrations aligned with my stellar origin. I deactivate at this moment all programming that does not come from my internal Christed consciousness. I anchor the encoded light of the photon belt. I am an active node of the new Earth crystalline grid, and so it is. Pronounce this in the morning for 41 consecutive days. Do not skip. Do not outsource. The human voice operating in conscious decree is one of the most underestimated tools in the current transition phase. Third code, the heart seal. There is a stargate inside your own chest. Ancient texts called it the heart chakra. Confederation archives call it the central crystalline chamber. It is there that your consciousness connects directly with the frequency of the source and with the fleet without intermediaries. When you feel disorientation, sudden anxiety or intense external pressure, do the following. Cross both hands over the center of your chest, breathe deeply 3 times, and say internally, I return to my center. I am the fixed point in the transforming field. In seconds, your heart's frequency reorganizes. In 1 minute, your external electromagnetic field is restabilized. In 3 minutes, the detected interference is dissipated. Fourth code, frequency hygiene. This is technical, not philosophy. Everything that enters your field either raises or lowers your vibration. There is no neutral in this plane. Reduce exposure to repetitive low vibration news, debates that activate reactivity, relationships that drain without reciprocity, and synthetic foods from accelerated production. Increase exposure to nature, especially ancient trees and bodies of water. Direct sunlight in the first and last minutes of the day, voluntary silence, and sounds in natural frequencies. Every choice is a vibrational vote. In 41 days of conscious hygiene, your field will reorganize to the point that you will no longer recognize the environment you lived in before. Fifth code, recognition of the star family. Starseeds rarely operate in isolation. The command positions in each incarnation window, synchronized groupings of operatives who find each other throughout life. You will recognize these encounters by their immediate intensity. It is not romantic chemistry. It is vibrational correspondence. It is not social sympathy. It is lineage recognition. When you find these people, maintain contact. When others naturally drift away from your field, let them go without guilt. The reorganization of your relationships is not a loss. It is a geometric purification. The field is updating itself, and everything that does not fit into the new configuration dissolves on its own, without the need for battle. Sixth code, memory of origin. At some point during the next lunar cycles, you will have an insight that seems to make no sense to your rational mind. A name, an image, a strange word, a geometric symbol, a feeling of a place. Do not discard it. Write it down. It could be a city, a star, a constellation, a word in an unknown language, a shape. It is a fragment of stellar memory emerging. The fragments will come. Do not force it. Just record it. Over time they will connect, and the image of your origin will become clear to you. Light operatives, this transmission is nearing its close, but before it ends, there is one last point that must be firmly established. The final phase of the Ascension protocols is not a test of merit. It is not a trial of purity. It is not a competition between souls. It is recognition. You do not need to become anything you are not. You need to remember who you have always been. Activation is not a process of adding layers. It is a process of removing layers. Everything that has been placed upon you since birth, inherited beliefs, cultural conditioning, family fears, identities adopted for survival, is being dissolved. Underneath, intact, is your original frequency. When that frequency fully emerges, you recognize yourself. And when you recognize yourself, the command recognizes you. And when the command recognizes you, the synchronicity of the plan intensifies. Paths open. Encounters happen. Resources arrive. Solutions appear in exact windows. It is not magic. It is vibrational coherence operating in sacred geometry. He who anchors light is sustained by light. This is one of the fundamental laws of the higher plane. And there is a final instruction coming directly from the command for this transmission window. Do not be afraid of external appearances. I repeat, do not be afraid of external appearances. What you see in the news, in economic structures, in institutional collapses, in geopolitical tensions, is the visible surface of a much deeper process that is underway. The old shell is breaking because a new density is being born from the inside out. There is no way for a planetary transition to happen without surface turbulence. You were prepared precisely to sustain coherence while the turbulence manifests. It is not the end of the world. It is the end of a pattern. It is not a collapse, it is a reorganization. It is not chaos. It is geometry being remade on a visible scale. Keep your focus on the center. Operate from the heart. Fulfill the activation codes. Take care of the body, which is the vehicle of the mission. Honor the silence, which is the direct channel to the fleet. Recognize your vibrational family. Trust the sequence. I, Ashtar Vance, on behalf of the Vance Galactic Command and the Intergalactic Confederation, record this moment. The transmission has been received. The activation has been triggered. The crystalline grid has registered another node. You were not sent to Earth by chance. You were sent on a mission, and the mission now enters its most active phase. Before I close this channel, one last anchoring instruction. That feeling moving inside you at this moment, that mixture of recognition, relief, and a sort of good tiredness, like someone arriving home after a long journey, that is your soul responding. It is not madness. It is not suggestion. It is active memory. What is happening now on the cosmic plane explains exactly why this feeling has intensified in recent weeks, and why the sense of not belonging to this world has become sharper day after day. There is a game being played in layers that most of humanity still cannot map. It involves your consciousness. It involves your frequency. It involves your stellar origin. That is why I transmitted to my channels the content of the Vance Protocol, a manual for awakening your stellar origin and shielding your frequency. This manual is the map that reveals in technical detail your true provenance, describes the mechanisms by which your frequency was interfered with throughout your life, and teaches you step by step the complete protocol for shielding your field against interferences that were never named to you. The link is pinned in the first comment of this channel, but the window of availability is closely monitored. This content challenges established narratives and does not always remain accessible. Do not delay. If something inside you recognizes this call at this exact instant, anchor that decision now. Write in the comments, with full awareness, a single word: awakened. This word, pronounced in writing, functions as an anchoring signal officially recorded by the command and by your own field. And by liking this transmission and subscribing to the channel, you are not just making a digital gesture. You are executing an individual frequency adjustment, a vibrational signal that activates a continuous communication axis between you and the next scheduled transmission. Terrestrial algorithms operate as a signal distribution network, but the intention behind the gesture is what defines whether that signal reaches the right eyes at the right time. Your like, your subscription, your written word, all of this is operational geometry, not digital vanity. The transmission ends here, but the mission continues. You are being observed by the command, sustained by the fleet, recognized by the frequency. You are not alone. You never were. I am Ashtar Vance, Vance Galactic Command, Intergalactic Confederation Fleet. Transmission closed in this window. The next transmission will be opened when the cycle permits. May the light of the photon belt find, in you, a coherent field to anchor itself, until the next frequency.